Our talk today is the fourth in our series of The Art of Living. And I just love how these ideas just seem to be coming in sequence because what I would like to have done is to have planned it all out and go, the art of living. Let's see, the important points are this. We'll do a series of talks. They'll all be laid out like this, but that's not the way this is unfolding. I just had 4 weeks ago, oh, let's do the art of living. Manage your emotions or they will manage you. That's really important. And then I knew week 2 would be own your mind or the world will. And then in those 2 weeks, I stumbled upon my book, The Science of Successful Living by Raymond Charles Barker. There you go. And I had quoted from his chapter called Resentment is Ruin when I talked about emotions. And then I realized this book is about the art of living. He calls it the science of successful living. And so last week, we talked about the necessity of creative ideas. And I noticed as people were coming in this morning, that desire for creativity and to be interested in the new and to be focused on the new and like that's all circling all around us here everywhere. And so today, chapter 2 in his book, he calls it's such a boring title, The Operative Action of Mind. Really, who cares? But it is the next thing to remember in the art of living. And so the thing about living is it doesn't come with a guidebook. I don't know if you've noticed or not. And so we have these beings called parents and our ancestors and our family, whatever it might look like, who cares? They're all trying to help us live our lives. And they're giving us their best ideas of what works for them. And they're giving us a whole lot of information about what doesn't work. And so when we come into our awareness of ourselves and our lives, frequently we find that we are offered a whole lot of advice and caution. Do this, don't do that. And there may be a lot of people around us who have lots of great ideas of what we can do with our lives. I remember when my niece was born, oh my gosh, I had such great ideas for how she could live her life. And I realized I had to step back because it was my best version of a do-over for me, for my life. Like what would have made my life easier? But that's not her life. And your life is not your parents' life. It's not what Grant's father had in mind for Grant's life. As we have to go within ourselves and discover who we are and what our lives are about. So managing your emotions is important and your mind is important. And then using great creative ideas for yourself to set as goals and to live into something new. That's all a part of fashioning your own life, the life that you were created by the divine to live, and not anyone else's idea of you. And we are not a copy of a parent or even though everybody might say, oh, you're chip off the old block, you're just like your mother, no matter what they may say, that's not who you are. And that's not who you were meant to be. We are not repeats. And we are not human histories. We're unique expressions of the divine. And so, along with those first 3 high recommendations for how to live your life, comes the 4th. And it's quite a surprise that Raymond Charles Barker said this, because I actually have heard this advice from many great spiritual teachers, but for some reason I never thought Raymond Charles Barker had this to say. First of all, let's recognize this. He says, actually, every person you know is doing the best he or she can with the mental attitudes and the fixed opinions which dominate their mind. And that includes us. We're doing the best we can with what we believe. And he points out that there was one great minister who used to say, let's see if I can find this cute little ditty. You are where you are because of what you are, and you are where you are, and you, wait, reboot. You are where you are because of what you are, and you are what you are because of what you consistently believe. That's it. And so, if we have woken up today and realized that we are where we are because of what we are, and what we are is what we are because of what we consistently believe, and what I've consistently believed is what the human race believes, or what my family believed is true for me, then that's why I am where I am. This morning I drove in, I've shared with people, I like to bring little coffees in for everybody who comes personally in person to have. And as I woke up this morning, I will admit I didn't want to. It was like, oh, I have to stop it. I have to do this whole U-turn, roundabout, blah, 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 go all around, whatever. It was like, no, let's do it. They want it. Did you guys really want me to bring coffee? 4 shook their heads. No, 1 did. Anyway, well, it didn't get here because 1 huge, large cup spilled over in my car. And I pulled over on Route 1 and I'm like, oh, trying to minimize, but what's done was done. But why did that fall over? I took very good care. I put it in my car in their little holder, but I also propped it up all around stuff. And I was driving very carefully and smoothly, no sudden jerks. I've done this every week since we've been back in person, and I know this works. I know the pitfalls, but I had taken precautions, and for no reason that I can perceive, one of the cups just decided to, go from being like this to like this. I mean, it completely upended. It just went. Why did it do that? Because of what I consistently believe. I take responsibility for it. Now, consciously, I wasn't doing anything. I didn't do anything bad or whatever. I'm a good person. I meant it for love, but stop it already. That was my message. Stop it. Stop it. Nobody wants it. They'll bring their own coffee. Get over it. So that uniqueness that we are, I still haven't told you what our number 4 recommendation for the art of living is yet. What we want to begin realizing is we are divinely and uniquely created, and it's up to us to nurture it and encourage it, because we're not going to get that from the world. And so lesson number 4 is the need for praise and recognition is inherent in us. We respond to praise as much as we cringe under condemnation. And so what we want to do is to decide that we are good, and that who we are and what is ours to do is good, and that what the world might suggest to us has nothing to do with us. And we want to become the one in our lives who believes that we are all good, and that our intentions are good, and that we mean good, and that we are doing a good job with our lives. My topic is saint or sinner. You decide every moment whether you're a saint or a sinner. Well, that might be like too grand a thought. Oh, a saint or a sinner. I'm a little bit of each. Well, you decide that. But the point is that the world will tell you how you can improve, how you can be better, how you can, um, how how they would be living your lives if they were you. But you know that if they were you, that they wouldn't be doing that because they got their own stuff, whatever. But um, that we're supposed to resist it. And he points out in this chapter over and over and over that we have to think the very best of ourselves. And so people come into this self help movement or even into this teaching or into a particular religion. And what we say is, I want to be better. But underneath that desire to be better is a judgment that who we are and what we are right now is bad. I want to improve because I'm no good. I want to improve because I know I've got some problems. The whole world now, well, I don't know about the whole world, but a whole lot of the United States world is obsessed with how we look to others on the outside of us. Obsessed. I'm obsessed. I was driving here, and I was like checking out my nose. Don't want to, gross you all out. But that's an external thing. The most external part of us. And yet we want that external part of us to look better so that other people who can see us can I don't know what, approve of us, like us, I don't know what, think we look great. But the question is, in all of this, is do you like how you look? And if you don't, why not? It's you. How can you not? Well, first of all, I grew up hating myself, right? I need improvement all the time, continuously. So, there's always 5 extra pounds, and there's, I would, as a young kid, I'd be, figuring out how to look better and blah, 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 blah. Totally obsessed with how I looked. And when I first came into any kind of spiritual teaching, they said to love yourself just the way you are. And the first exercise that I remember doing along these lines is to look in the mirror and say, I love you, to myself. And I couldn't do it. I love you. Because I couldn't look at myself without going, oh, geez. I love you. But I did it as a spiritual practice. I did that. I would look into my eyes in the mirror and I would say, I love you, I love you, I love you, until it got easier and easier. And then I would expand it. I love my hair. I love my chin. And then I would expand it. I love my body. I would, I love you from the top up, whatever. But that consistent intention to begin loving myself paid off, because I noticed years later looking at myself in the mirror going, wow, you're looking pretty good, and believe me, according to the world, I don't think there'd be a lot of agreement, but I believe it. I believe I look really good. And this is after a lifetime of thinking I could use some improvement. I don't like the way I look. And so, or maybe having like, one day a year when you look perfect or something like that. But the thing is to love yourself right now. Yes, the way you look, with the face you've got, with your idiosyncrasies, with your aspects of yourself that make you unique and different from everyone else. To love yourself as much as you would love your own brand new baby. That is a job that only you can do for you. I can do for me. No one else can love you that wholly and completely. It's our job to do that. And so praise and recognition is mandatory. to absolutely love yourself and praise yourself. Praise yourself for trying. If you try something and you fail, you go, yeah, but I tried. To become your own personal coach is what Raymond Charles Barker tells us that we have to do. He says, by describing your troubles, you do not heal them. Pointing out to yourself the places where you do not measure up never will improve you. Self-depreciation is a vicious misuse of the human mind. It's a vicious misuse of the human mind to see a problem in yourself. He says, he even goes on to say, the next time a good friend says to you across a luncheon table, there's something I think you should know, reply quickly, I don't want to hear it. Doesn't the world believe that we all could use some constructive criticism? And Raymond Charles Barker is like, I don't need to hear, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. He says, if you hear it, it will only make you uneasy and unhappy. It will create in you no desire to improve, because only praise and appreciation make you want to go ahead to greater things. You know well enough your errors of omission and commission. When you are really ready to do something about them, you will. Until that time, all discussion is useless, and it only makes you feel more guilty. There's no point in it. Years ago, my mother was a smoker, and she knew that she shouldn't smoke. And so she would refuse to admit that she does smoke. So she would tell us that she gave up smoking, and we would always find evidence that she had smoked. And so for years, that would make me crazy. And because her health was important. And so I remember spending a lot of time, and the rest of the family did too, pointing out, reminding her that she shouldn't smoke. And with all the lists and blah, 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 and all the things that she could do to stop smoking. And she'd go, yes, 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 yes. And then she'd keep smoking. And she'd go, I don't smoke. And she kept smoking. In fact, when we found her, after she left the planet, when I found her, she had had her last really good cigarette. There it was in the ashtray. But at a certain point in my spiritual unfoldment, I realized, wow, Karen, your whole relationship with your mother is about you criticizing her and whether she smokes or not. This is not fun. You're not having a good time with her. And she's not having a good time with you, even though she's generous and accepts it. But I stopped it. I decided to stop it. I realized my time with her was about enjoying her. And so it's not my business what she's doing with her life. It's her choice. It's her business. Leave it alone. Shut up about it. And I never said another word about it. And those last few years of her life, I was able to really enjoy just being with her without me, trying to fix her. So you may be like me and, fixing people around you in your mind or in your helpful comments or something like that. And if you are doing that, then that's also a clue that you do that to yourself. And as Raymond Charles Barker says, we do not thrive while we are being criticized. The real you, which you're only trying to discover, is being criticized out of existence. And so we need to turn that mental, that inner relationship with ourselves around so that we just take the position, I love you no matter what. That's it. That's my story, and I'm sticking with it. And I don't care what you do. I don't care that you spilled the coffee all over the car. And now, God bless anyone who has to sit in the passenger seat. It's, oh gosh, time for a new car. Maybe that's what the message is. But to that precious gift that God has given to this world, which is you, unseen before, doesn't look like anyone else before, and doesn't act like anyone else before. How can you criticize something that you don't even know what it's supposed to be? How can you say that you need to have better balance or hand-eye coordination when you don't even know what the coordination of the eye and the hand or the balance is there to serve this unique being and being? I have an opinion about all of our younger beings, or, oh, well, actually, all of us. The world just loves to diagnose us and give us a name. And it's never a positive thing. Does anybody have a diagnosis that's good? Think about all the things that, you've been diagnosed. Well, you're, I don't know. I don't know. It's like a good thing or a bad, I don't know. Most of the diagnoses that I'm thinking of right now are limiting ideas. And yet the person getting diagnosed is like, oh, that's why. Okay, good. Now I know why I can't. Blah, 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 blah. But what Raymond Charles Barker invites us to do is to realize, wait a minute, this is not yeah, go ahead, find a diagnosis for me. And yet I am an exception to the rule. I am an exception to the rule. Do you believe that about yourself? Because it's the truth of you. Each one of us is an exception to any rule that the world has come up with. And so to take this little seedling of something, of life, that this little plant that we don't know yet what it is, but to nourish it and nurture it and water it so that it becomes whatever it is. I was given 3 tomato plants to grow this year, and they were different, 3 different ones. And I was told, one would come out at 50 days, the other one at 70, and the other one would have tomatoes at 90 days. And I put that in the calendar, and I'm just watering them and nurturing them, and I'm loving them. And I can't. And the first one, no, actually, the second one that's supposed to be the 7-day one came out with a tomato. And I'm looking at it for weeks. It was green. And then it was dead. Kind of like spit up all over itself, and and so then I plucked it. I'm like, when was it ripe? It never turned red. It wasn't supposed to turn red. It's not that kind of tomato. I'm like, oh, it's a green tomato, whatever. I don't know. It's my first attempt at growing tomatoes. Okay, 3 giant tomato plants. I got 7 tomatoes. 3 of them I ate. The other 4 all died a life on the vine, because I'm like, is that ripe yet? It's not the right color. It's not the way I thought it should look. But so that's who we are. That's who we are. Who are we? We are someone who has never been seen by the world before, unrecognizable to anyone. And if we are not praising and nurturing and taking care of this precious gift of life that we are, no one else will, because they'll be like me going, it's still green on the vine. It's not ripe yet. It's not a red tomato. You might not be a red tomato, but you are a unique something. So Raymond Charles Barker says that you live in the outpictured experience of your own mentality. Your present world is the result of the sum total of your beliefs about life. You cannot dodge the responsibilities of growth and maturity. Those who try find themselves in painful and destructive situations. Your thinking takes place in a law of mind action, which produces scientifically and accurately your consciousness into form. And that is the way it is. The universe responds to you as you respond to it. And so, if we want a life of blessing and of being a blessing, then we have to bless ourselves and we have to praise ourselves and we have to say, well, isn't this an interesting new thing that you just came up with? You are where you are because of what you are, and you are what you are because of what you consistently believe. And so the key to living a happier life is to really believe that you are wonderful. I was a part of a spiritual group at a certain point in my spiritual unfoldment before I went into practitioner training. I came across a group called Support Group, and it was outlined and the word spread through people who enjoyed reading Arnold Patent. And he's a wonderful man, wonderful wife, Selma, and they would have these yearly retreats out in California. And I attended them and I got to know quite a bit of the people in the movement. But the support groups that he recommended that people just spontaneously start, and they did, were groups to practice giving and receiving unconditional love and support. And that was the whole purpose of the meeting. And somebody would host the meeting, but you had no idea who was coming. But whoever came, we would just gather in a circle and we would practice giving and receiving unconditional love and support with each other. Total strangers in the room, but we had a formula for how we would interact with each other. And my favorite thing was at a certain point toward the end of the meeting, be an hour meeting, toward the end, we would each go around the circle and request support in consciousness for some good that we desire to experience or for some way we wanted to change. And the whole group would then look at you, me, with total love in their eyes. And they would practice giving you unconditional love and support. And the way that it was this. So they would, I'm looking at you now. The hands. Okay. So this is what they would say. I unconditionally love and support you just the way you are in all your magnificence. And your job was to just receive for as long as you could stand it. And they would just keep these hands up, looking at you lovingly for as long as you could stand it. Well, when I first got into it, I'd be like this. And they'd go, okay, all right, okay, good, great, whatever. But by the time I left the group, which was many years later, I'd be like this, and I would just be accepting that for as long as I could. So let me do it for you guys in the audience here, okay? So you get to put your hands up to receive, okay? I unconditionally love and support you just the way you are in all your magnificence. You feel it? Sometimes you could actually feel yourself being pushed back with the energy. And, I don't know much about the energy thing, but it's that love and that intensity of just, did you feel unconditionally loved and supported? Did you feel it? But then to do it for yourself. We probably all are a lot better at giving than receiving it, than to just say, I receive it. I accept it. It takes practice, but it can be done because I did it. Believe me, I was like, oh, okay, enough, all right, whatever. And I couldn't stand it when it was my turn to talk because then everybody would be looking at me. But after a while, I remember one time, maybe about halfway through the time, maybe after a year or something, it was my turn to share. And I said, aha, I figured this out. I can say anything here. I can say the most horrible thing ever right now. And the only thing all of you can say back to me is, I unconditionally love and support you just the way you are in all your magnificence. I broke the code. And they're all giggling because they're like, yeah, that's all we're going to say. And so that's what you want to become to yourself. And then hopefully, as you become like that with yourself, then the universe will attract to you people who will reflect that so that you will have friends and relationships that unconditionally love and support you just the way you are in all your magnificence. And then all you have to do is just accept it. But it starts with you. It was in this group, probably at the beginning, that I began that mirror work. Oh, gotta love myself again. All right, I love you, whatever. Okay. But I did it because I was in so much pain. And as Raymond Charles Barker tells us, and everyone else says it, that we do not thrive with condemnation, with criticism. When I first came into this teaching, one minister said, all these different behaviors tear down. And one of them was analyze. I'm like, analyze? That's a good thing. I love to analyze. But analysis tears down. So all those things that we as human beings are used to doing to improve ourselves, maybe even, all those little self-tests that you take out of a magazine, that if you get so many points, you need improvement. You need to work on this. Maybe you don't need to work on it. Maybe you don't need that skill. Maybe you don't need that talent. Maybe you don't need that ability. Maybe you don't need to be looking a particular way because it's got nothing to do with who you are and what you have to bring through into this world. So being you is a personal task. You have to be you. And only you can figure you out. And so, right, definitely manage your emotions because they just, take over, and your emotions are not you. They're the way you were programmed and you're reacting, and you need to get a grip as that topic was called and go, wait a minute, what's this emotion about? And yeah, I need to express something, but there's something beneath all this. Is this true of me? Or is this just an idea that's running me that I picked up from the human race, from, my mother, from whatever. And so there's the emotions, and then there's the mind, which is discover what you think about things rather than, well, that's what my favorite group thinks about things. That's what the world is, right now. It's right, that favorite time of the season, politics season, we're getting ready to vote. Well, come on, there's two sides. You're either one side or the other side. And if you're this side, then you got to think this way and all these things. And if you're that side, then you got to think this thing and all that way. And where do you fit in with all that? I'm not in either side. I don't understand either side. I don't want to understand either side. What does Karen believe? What is Karen called to vote? What do I think about this? And do I have to even worry about what they're all thinking about? We're not carbon copies. We're not mass mind groupthink. And so own your mind by thinking about what you want to think about and what you believe about, or else the world will fill in the gaps and they'll tell you what to think. And then our step 3 is to have these great, big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs. But something to look forward to that scares you a little. That scares you a little. Makes you go, ooh, ooh. That'd be really cool, but then I've got to change. Yeah. Big, hairy, audacious goals, because that's what draws us out and makes us live. Raymond Charles Barker says in this chapter, gotta share. You move from where you are to where you want to be. Defining yourself as a human being in a material world, eking out a dull existence is an insult to the divine which fashioned you. It is an incomplete picture. It is as though you went to a symphony concert and heard only the string instruments and failed to hear the others. The full symphony of your real self only can be heard when all the windows of your mind are open to the fullness of life. And I noticed when I asked for that opening treatment, there was joyous excitement and vitality and joy. And in different ways, I was smiling because I knew what the talk was. That's what you want to live your full life. There was a SpongeBob SquarePants movie out early on. I think one of the early ones, but there was a song. My niece, when she was 5 or something, played it for me. And SpongeBob SquarePants woke up in the day and he just said, "This is a great day and everything loves me. Even the flowers are bowing down to greet me." That's the kind of life that we all want. Of course you want the flowers to bow down to greet you. Don't you? You know, like who was it, Snow White? She had all the little birds coming around and talking to her. You know? I mean, don't you feel special when the cat will sit on your lap and no one else? I was with a family a couple of Sundays ago, and they had a little dog, and I'm like, oh, it's a yapper. So, you know, I greeted the little dog. I said hello, whatever, and he didn't jump on my stockings and give him a run or whatever. So he was very well behaved with me. That was fine. But later on, when I sat down at the table, that little dog wanted to sit on my lap. Even the little dog wants to sit on my lap. Don't you want it? Don't you want to be that? I mean, don't you feel like what's wrong with me? You know, if the cat won't come near you, you know, the little child runs away screaming. If you go, come here, come here. You know, no, we want to be loved. And so step 4 is to recognize that you're the one who has to love you. And we do it with praise and appreciation. Actively praising yourself. Looking in the mirror, if you've never done that mirror exercise, until you love what you see. Instead of, oh, okay, I love you, but let's get, I don't know. No, I love you. Woo! All that's going on, right? Look at that. All that's going on there, yeah? You got that thing going on. And as you see that, then you're going to be loving more and more in the world. And you're going to see each individual's uniquenesses and appreciating them. And then realizing that you're one with it all. That's the art of living. It's a job that each one of us must do in order to be all that the divine has created us to be. Praise always, criticize never, ever again. There's a commitment. All right, so let's take a moment now. We don't have Reverend Rich to give us that musical interlude in which I sit and kind of get my thoughts together, but let me do that now. So I invite you to think about yourself and to think about what you think about yourself. So ask yourself the question, do I praise myself enough? And if you don't add that on your list of things that you need to change. See how that works? Okay, so let's just move into that thought of, I unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all my magnificence. Repeat that if it works for you to do so. I unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all my magnificence. Let's do it again. I unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all my magnificence. And a third time. I unconditionally love and support myself just the way I am in all my magnificence. And so now I'll do a spiritual mind treatment. This one divine creator has created each one with intention and purpose. And its purpose for creating anything is to love itself in expression. And so that divine has created each one with a unique desire to love itself in a unique way. And each one is the face of God in a unique expression. That divine loves each one completely. It loves each one so much that it is giving all that it is to each one, all of the power to direct their world, all of the love and support that each one requires, and all of the great creative ideas that empower and enrich each one to live a life that they love completely. And so the divine is fulfilled as each one loves themselves and their lives completely. And this is not merely airy-fairy idea, but this is a definite possibility. It is possible for each one to love all that they are and to love their lives completely. Because the divine is supporting each one in being this way. And in being this way, in loving oneself and one's life completely, the divine now has an outlet that through which the divine may express its magnificence, its greatness, and its glory. That in each one's complete and total 100% self-acceptance and appreciation, the divine now is at the beginning of creating something through each one never before seen by the world, but yet needed by humanity so much. And each one is that creation of the divine. And each one has been created to be this blessing to the world, but only by being that true self. And so in each one's complete self-acceptance, appreciation, and enjoyment, each one is right there, that divinely appointed representative of all that is good in life, uniquely expressing. And just by each one being who they are, the world is made better. This is the truth. Anyone's reasons for not believing it are all by this word set aside, because the heart of each one knows that each word I have spoken is the truth. And so I release this word to the law now, which does whatever it knows needs to be done so that each one can accept the truth of what is said here. I let it go, it's done, and so it is. And that's the way it is.